So by tomorrow night, the election will be over, and we might have to wait a couple of days to get the final results. I expect that we're going to have basically the exact same situation as we've had up till now with a minority government, and again, the same MP in our region in a similar circumstance of kind of being always on campaign mode to try and make sure that they're ready for the next election, which could happen again at any time because minority governments roll like that. So I wanted to talk about some things that we haven't talked about in this election campaign that I thought were really important. And obviously it's a limited number of debates, didn't get much airtime. So the first one, and one that obviously I've been focused on for a while and I'll continue to work on and try and hopefully work with our MP on, is to do some research on infrastructure funding inequity and to establish whether people in the northwest of BC are actually getting a fair amount of funding for what we need to do here compared to other parts of Canada, and especially urban areas. The preliminary research I've done shows that we aren't, and so I think there's a really interesting opportunity if we can prove that out to go back to the government and say, look, we deserve a fair shake here, and obviously there are some really good initiatives that we can put infrastructure funding towards to enhance the livability of our region and also really to enhance our economic development initiatives and really diversify our economy up here. So there's some real interesting opportunities there in terms of how infrastructure funding could be spent here. Another issue that really hasn't gotten much discussion here, despite the awkwardness of this election campaign, is how we can conduct better elections. And so some of the things that have really come to my awareness here is that we just don't have a level playing field in our elections federally or provincially. And I think there's ways that we can reduce that disparity and make it so that each candidate, as they come forward and they're able to bring their ideas to the table, can have a fair shake at election. And another important part is meaningful consultation of the people that live in the riding. So I believe we need something more than just having a representative that travels around and chats with people, but then goes back to government and does whatever they choose to do as our representative, which really I feel is more often we get their party or their government being represented to us rather than us being able to reflect what our concerns or needs are in our region. And really I'd like to see an opportunity for us to change the system and get some experts in Parliament. So I'll be talking about an idea to that end, and also really giving people a bit more of an option when they're going out. We have challenges getting people to vote already, and so many people are plugging their noses. I'd like to see an opportunity for people to have a vote that says that they'd like to change the system and that that's what they're voting for. An issue that has been talked about but really hasn't seen the kind of really developed concepts of how to address our current situation in dealing with reconciliation with First Nations people in Canada. And obviously in the Northwest, that's an incredibly important topic, and I believe we need to start getting some really solid proposals in terms of how we'll deal with that. And so I'll be talking a little bit about some ideas that I have for reducing that economic inequity, which is very clearly documented between First Nations people and non-Indigenous people in our region, and particularly between the reserve communities and the Eurocentric communities that we have here. And also just really getting to foundational cultures in our region. The First Nations cultures are obviously the ones that we're rooted in and grounded in here, and I'd like to see an approach that recognizes that more, that they are the foundational cultures here, and really work with people in general to recognize the beauty in that and the historical knowledge and wisdom that are in those cultures. A couple other issues that I think really need to be dealt with as well is a more honest discussion on the question of renewable energy versus fossil fuels. I've been frustrated with the lack of research that has been done to look into what the impacts of the different options are. And so I'll again highlight where some of those gaps are and hopefully be able to push for more research being done on that. And then over time I'll talk about some other regional initiatives that would enhance livability for our region. Things like pushing Air Canada for domestic flight passes to make it more affordable for families in Smithers in the Northwest region, Terrace, to fly back and forth from our urban hubs and things like that. So yeah, elections come and go. They're a brief period of time, and most of the work has to take place in between those election cycles. And so yeah, hopefully I can be a positive part of that conversation with some ideas and bring some topics to the forefront for discussion within our region. So thanks again. Bye.